Hello, my name is David, and today I'm going to be talking about everything that I accomplished with this second sprint for my fitness application. So, for our first sprint, originally we set out to create the basic architecture for our application, including our database and API. We set up everything related to account management, the homepage that lets you view, modify, and delete workouts and exercises, as well as the workout page that actually lets you create individual sets for each exercise or delete sets. And in our second sprint, originally we sought out to perform everything related to goal setting and implementing features related to this, but we actually did two other very important things as well, including JSON Web Token authorization and Docker containerization. And I'm going to be getting into what each of those does in a little bit. So starting off with goal setting, basically I wanted to make it so that way the user is able to be way more efficient in the gym than they would otherwise be by allowing them to, whenever they've created their workout plan and specified which exercises that they wanted to complete in that workout plan, I wanted them to be able to say what goal they had for each of those exercises. So the user's essentially going to be answering this question: whenever I can do X sets of Y reps at my current lifting weight, increase the weight by Z pounds for this current exercise. And they're going to do that for each exercise that they have in their workout plan. And then after a user has completed a workout, they're going to be presented with a summary of everything that they accomplished, including all of their sets. And they're also going to be shown all of the exercises that they just performed that are eligible for progression. In other words, all those exercises that they specified goals for, it's going to show them exactly which ones they actually met their goal for and that they might be able to progress if they choose to. Then the user is going to specify, of those exercises that were eligible for progression, which ones do I feel ready to progress? Because even though user might have met their goal for that exercise, they might not feel ready to step it up to the next level until they feel like they can do it with enough ease. Then, once the user has specified which exercises they feel ready to progress, their current lifting weight is going to increase. And this is the value that's actually stored in the database. So that way the user will know exactly how much weight that they need to be using next time they perform this exercise of this workout. And this whole process of being able to set a goal and immediately view your progress with it and actually increase your default values that you're currently lifting with is something that's going to provide much greater efficiency in the gym and allow users to get bigger gains faster. Now, the second major thing that I implemented with this sprint was JSON Web Token authorization. So essentially, whenever the user registers or logs in, an access token is going to be generated in the form of a JSON Web Token that is going to grant them access for 7 days to everything related to their accounts. This token is going to be stored inside the user's browser and will be passed into each HTTP request as an authorization header. And various different checks are going to be called before certain API endpoints will be enacted. So first, we're going to verify the authenticity of that user's token, verify that this was a token that we actually gave to the user and that it is still valid, it still has that 7 days of access on it. Then we're going to cross-reference the token's user ID with the data that they're trying to access, that user ID. And if these two IDs match, then we're going to process the request as normal. So essentially, we're trying to figure out if this user, the data that they're trying to access, actually belongs to them. And if it does, then we're going to proceed as normal and deliver them the information that they need in order to use the application. But if those values do not match up, say the token is invalid, we're going to tell the user that that token is invalid and we're going to remind them to log in again. Or if they're trying to access data for an account that doesn't belong to them, we're going to tell them that it's not going to happen. And the last important thing that I did for this sprint was Docker containerization. So I created a Docker file for the API and a Docker compose file to package the API and database together. Then using the same Docker compose file, I created a volume mount to ensure that whenever I restart the containers, that the data that I had saved on that database is going to persist. So that way I'm not constantly having to reset the database each time I restart the Docker containers together. And this Docker Compose file also creates a network that allows each of those two containers to communicate. That way, the API and the database can share information flawlessly. And yeah, so the whole point of using Docker containerization was to actually allow me to easily run all of these containers at the same time and get my entire application up and running by just using one simple command, which I'm about to show you in a minute. So let's hop over to it. So this is, of course, my Docker Compose file. So I, I've listed out all of the services that I have used in this stack. So I have my database and I have my API. These are the two things I'm trying to bundle together. And each of these apps have their own configuration information. And for the database specifically, we actually specify exactly where this data is going to be persisted. This is going to be a local directory on our computer. So once we actually start up this application, you're going to see a PG data file get generated in the top left over here. So to actually get this application up and running, we need to execute docker compose up and then specify the build flag in order to make sure that we're actually downloading everything that we need. And you can see the API is up and running and we're still setting up the database. Sometimes it takes a second. The server has been started and now it's accepting connections. And an SQL script has executed, which is actually what we've set the database up to do through the API. And you can see that the PG data folder has been created. This is where all of the data in the database is going to be saved to, just so that way we have a copy of it whenever we're trying to restart the application. So to get back into the specifics of both the goal setting features that I implemented and securing everything using JSON web tokens, I'm going to hop over into Postman over here and demonstrate each of these endpoints in action. So whenever a user is registering, they're going to go to the register endpoint. They will specify an email, a username, and a password. Then they're going to submit that and be presented with an access token. So this token is going to be included inside the authorization header. And this is something that's actually going to be passed into each of these HTTP requests. And for example, if user one is trying to create a workout, but they don't actually have a token available, it's going to say no token provided. If we pass in a token that doesn't work, so I just changed one character of this token, it's going to say failed to authenticate token, which means that whatever token this user is using, something isn't correct about it. It's not something that my API or database have issued to the user as being a valid token. And if we actually create another user here, we're going to create D. If I try to access user one's information using user two's token, we're going to see unauthorized to create token for this user. However, if we go back over here, we're going to log in as user David again and copy this token. User David is user one, by the way. And if we paste in the correct token to access user number one's account, which is David, then we're going to see workout created successfully. And if we actually go over here to try to fetch the user's workouts, paste in the correct token, we can see the complete list of everything that user number one has for their push workout. So we can see that they have bench press and they're currently lifting at 100 pounds. They've specified that their goal is to reach 3 sets of 10 reps at this 100 pounds. And whenever they're actually able to satisfy this goal, then we're going to increase the weight by 10. And we have that same process set up for both overhead press and barbell press. So the same thing works over whenever you're trying to update the workout and exercises. You just paste in the proper token, make sure that that works. Same thing occurs with delete workout. I don't really have a whole lot of time in this video, so just take my word for it if these work. Now, whenever a user is actually performing their workout, they're going to be creating a sequence of sets. So we paste in that token as usual. Um, for exercise number 1, let's see what we have here. Exercise number 1 is bench press. Exercise number 2 is overhead press, and exercise number 3 is barbell press. So this user is going to be doing just bench press and overhead press, which is exercise 1 and exercise number 2. So we're going to create some sets for that first exercise. We're going to create 3 sets. All right. And then we're going to create 2 sets for that second exercise. All right. And now we're actually going to view all of the sets that the user has performed for this specific exercise. So this is for exercise number 1. You can see that we have those 3 sets that we just logged. And if we pop in ID number 2, you can see those 2 sets that we generated for that second exercise. And whenever a user is completely finished with their workouts, they are going to be shown a summary of everything that they just accomplished, which is going to show which workout this exercise belongs to, the name of the exercise, and the individual sets that they performed. This data is going to be concatenated later to actually present this in a more easily viewable format to the user. So we can see those 3 sets of bench press and those 2 sets of overhead press. And then we're actually going to get a list of all of those exercises that they have performed within the past 12 hours that are eligible for progression. In other words, which of those exercises have the goals been met? And whenever we run this endpoint, you can see that the only goal that's been satisfied has been for that exercise bench press. You can see that they were currently lifting 100 pounds. Their target sets were 3 and their target reps were 10. And the weight modifier is also 10. So if we take this exercise ID and pass it into this API endpoint right here to actually progress the specified exercises. Oh, whoops, I didn't paste in the token. There we go. We can see successfully progressed each exercise specified. So if we go back over here to fetch a user's workouts, previously you saw that bench press was lifting at 100 pounds, but if we run this now just to recollect whatever has been updated, you're going to see that it is now 110 pounds, but the goal remains the same. So this process is essentially set up to ensure that not only is this application easy to run, but also somewhat secure. The user is also able to have much greater efficiency in the gym by being able to immediately, well, the next time that they actually set out to complete this workout, they're going to be able to see exactly where they left off. And whenever they're ready to progress, they're going to be able to increase the weight for next time and know exactly what weight they should be lifting at. So yeah, that about concludes the video. Thank you so much for watching.